Welcome to Discover La Jolla, where we showcase the jewel of San Diego, and that's La Jolla, California. I'm Jim McInerney, your host, and I am super excited this morning to have Concetta Antico here
Yes,
in the
Jim.
studio with me. You're about to hear an amazing story from an amazing woman that has an amazing condition that she inherited. And the name of that is
Tetrachromacy.
tetrachromacy. Okay, I
Tetrachromacy.
didn't want to mispronounce it. Tell me a little bit about tetrachromacy and what that is.
Sure. Well, I've been studied since 2012, and I am, as far as UC Irvine, California are concerned, the only artist, a woman actually, that has this genetic mutation
Of a chromosome.
of a chromosome that came from my family, from my
Okay.
parents. And I'm the only woman who has grown it to its highest potential. So I've had many scientific papers written on me, World Press. I see 100 million more colors than those with regular vision. Yes, it's true.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Because I have an extra color rod or cone in my eyes, like birds and butterflies and reindeer and other creatures.
So
Yes,
most humans have three
three.
cones and
If
you
they
have four cones.
correct.
And if you don't have the right cone combination, that can lead to being colorblind.
Yes,
Is
if you
one,
only have two cones,
which
you're
is normally more
colorblind.
common in men.
Yes, in 1 in 4 actually, and particularly men with beautiful blue eyes like yours, Jim.
Take me back to 2012, or take me back to when you knew you had something unique or someone else noticed something unique about how did this all
It happened a little
happen?
bit before 2012 that some of my clients, some of my students, because I've been a teacher since 95 of
Okay.
oil painting. But they would often say we'd paint outdoors, sometimes around La Jolla or all over San Diego, and I'd go, look at the magenta in the water right there, or look at the turquoise on that rock, and they'd look at me like, okay, but then I was the teacher, so they didn't really
Say
say a whole
anything.
lot. They
Right.
just thought, there she is,
Right.
being
Yeah,
her colorful
she didn't
self.
have enough
Yeah,
coffee. We'll let her go.
exactly. And so they'd
Yeah.
put their bit of magenta or turquoise. And so that started. And then a few years before 2012, one of my clients, his name was Steve McCann, he's left us now, wonderful man, San Diegan. He came to me with a Smithsonian article and said, I think you're one of these. He worked for Cisco and he was a techie type guy. And I said, I read it and it talked about fourth receptors in women. And I laughed and I said, sure, me and everyone else, right? And anyway, but it stuck with me. About a year after that, my young daughter came home from school one day and she said, Mum, I can't really see the whiteboard when the teacher writes with orange. And I thought, that's odd. So I called the school and I spoke to the teacher. She does wear glasses. She says, no, she's in the front row, everything. So I took her to the optometrist and I asked the optometrist, it's actually J.C. Penney in Fashion Valley. And I said, could you please give my daughter a color vision test,
Right.
which I knew about color vision tests because my degree's in education. So we had to learn about these things. Anyway, he looked at me, so I'm not going to do that. She's a girl. She's not going to be colorblind. And I said, please, she's telling me she can't see orange. So I watched while she failed the test. She has also a mutation, but her dad is color deficient, right? So he's red green, and I have this other anomaly. So together they created a colorblind girl, which is very rare.
Okay.
Anyway, I still didn't know it had anything to do with me. A little bit later, a client came in. She's a research scientist. She walked into my gallery and she said, there's an alchemy in here I can't quite put my finger on in your work. It's sort of holographic, avatarish. And for some reason, I just kind of blurted out and said, oh, maybe it's my fourth receptor.
Oh,
Like,
you're joking around.
you're joking around about what I'd heard about color, right?
Right.
And she said, what are you talking about? I said, oh, it's nothing. Someone just gave me an article once and it was about color. Anyway, she went off and she did some research and she sent me, that's the day, the day, the cold water in
Yeah.
the face, the day it changes your life. So I'm making pancakes for the kids and doing all the mom stuff before work. And I get all these emails come in. And she says, I think you should read some of these. So I opened up one and it was from three research scientists, color vision scientists, one in Johns Hopkins, one in Cambridge, and one in Washington University. And the first line of the first one I opened up said, women who have the potential for tetrachromacy also have the potential to create a colorblind female offspring.
Oh, bing. And that was
And
it.
the penny dropped, and I
Right.
went, wow, okay. So what I did, and it's funny how where you're at in the world, what's going on in the world can define things. I sometimes think of that movie
Moment.
Benjamin Button, and
Right.
there was a moment in time, and so I was able to research the pages, the websites of these particular doctors that had written these articles, and I sent them an email that morning, and the subject line was possible fourth receptor artist with colorblind daughter. And one of them was on my cell phone in 20 minutes.
Really,
And
just
it
like,
went from there.
bing, I
It
want
was
to talk
Dr.
to you.
Jay Knights, who is the foremost color deficient specialist. He's actually working with spider monkeys and trying to cure color
So now he's
blindness.
emailing you all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
so
Now,
he's like, Concetta, can we send down a vial for you to spit in and send it back up to,
you're
and
like,
so we
sure.
can run tests, and anyway, and he said, because we've got a film crew here from Fuji TV who've been looking for months for a candidate for their science mystery program for a tetrachromat. We can't find one. So they flew me up, and lo and behold, but it went further from there because I'm actually the perfect storm for tetrachromacy. Where
Okay.
my extra cone is on a thing called the elopsin, it's in what they call the sweet spot.
Okay.
So my scientist, Dr. Jameson up at UC Irvine, says, you're not just a unicorn, you're a rainbow unicorn, because I have all of these different pieces like my light factor, where my extra cone is in the sweet spot, the fact I've been painting and using color since I was a little girl, the fact that it's been my career and I've grown this tetrachromacy to its highest potential. So that's why there's a lot of scientific papers and so forth. So I'm the perfect storm for this anomaly.
So you've really been studying it, mastering it, and
Not knowing it.
not knowing it but since about 2012?
No, since I was little, since I was 5, I've been
You,
using color and growing this mutation
but you
gift.
didn't know. How old were you
Well,
when the water hit
it
the
was in
face?
2012.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you were
And
31.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Right.
No, of
Yeah,
course
more or
I
less.
was. You're
Yeah,
funny.
28.
Okay, 28.
Yeah.
But anyway, so how it actually, the cold water in the face, so they're down here. So then the film crew came to San Diego. I was bona fide. I did all these tests. They started filming, and they asked me to bring in a dozen of my students to my art gallery. And they said, okay, go outside while we'll call you in. Your cameras were rolling. So I walked in, and they looked at my 12 students. They said, raise your hand if your teacher often sees colors that you do not.
And they all raise their hand.
Every single one.
Yeah.
And I just went, wow, okay. Like seriously, it was a really big moment of
Sure.
I'm different and I don't see what you see. And in a way it was a bit frightening.
So you were scared.
It threw me back.
Yeah.
Because I thought, what are you seeing? And
Right.
how do you see? Because people often say to me, well, we don't see what you see, but I don't see what you see.
Right.
So it's in the reverse. Do you get what I'm saying? So I am I'm the outlier here.
And so how has that changed your art and your
Well, it hasn't
paintings?
changed my art because my art was always
Always
hyper
it.
colorful, like the lady who walked in and said, "What's with the alchemy?"
Got it.
But I'm painting what I see, and what I see is
Not
truth
what everybody else sees,
Yeah,
because
I'm
you're actually seeing the real colors that are there.
of the world. Right.
So when you're looking at me right now,
Yeah.
are you seeing colors then that nobody else sees?
Nuances of colors, yeah, in people's skin, particularly in their eyes, in in anything from nature. If you had a dog in here, a plant, or the sky. Not synthetic things, but real things.
That seems like an overwhelming number, 100 million.
100 million more. That's the color space that they have defined.
It
They've
seems
done it.
mind-boggling
It is.
to me.
Yeah, I know.
And what is a normal person? How many
Up
variations
to
of
1
color?
million.
Up to 1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, if they've trained their eyes. Because, we train our eyes. So I like to define it like this. It really helps people understand, okay? If you were born with, we know about the Olympics, right? That's something everyone can wrap their head around, sports people, whatever. And if you're born with particularly superior muscles, say, in your legs, but you'd never trained for the Olympics, you would never know the potential of that gift.
Right. Makes sense.
I just seem to be lucky enough
Wow.
that as a small child, I wanted to paint. I wanted to express the colors that I could see.
And you now have a studio that you've had for quite some time in La
30
Jolla?
years.
30 years.
Yeah, I've been in a teacher. I took a break over COVID, went back to
Good.
Australia for a
Okay.
little while. I guess you would call it a sabbatical.
All right.
But for 25 straight years, I was a instructor and in the fine art business here in San Diego. I was a forerunner for, retail fine art instruction, which used to be unheard of. I mean, we see people now out with their easels, or we see a lot of different programs like Paint and Wine and all these kinds of things, and different university and museum programs teaching art. But if you think back 30 years ago, those didn't exist. And I was one of the first, I think, to actually create a retail, like a Starbucks of art, if you like, on a corner
That
in
is
Bird
awesome.
Rock.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
and most people don't know
And it
that.
seems like there's been quite a revolution of art
It
in
has
La
since
Jolla,
then.
right?
Well,
I
in
mean, you
in
have
the
the
world.
murals now
Yeah,
on the
all of
side of
that
the
didn't
buildings.
used
You
to
have
exist. I
the
actually,
Conrad
yeah,
Center.
I actually put a big mural on the side of my shop.
Oh,
My
you
very
did?
first shop. It was a big kangaroo because I'm Australian, with a
Yeah.
palette and a paintbrush down in Bird Rock Avenue there. So yeah, it's been a full revolution. I was the first instructor to create after school art programs for all the YMCA's in
Wow.
San Diego County. I
Wow.
was the first art instructor to create after school programs for the San Diego Unified School District, all the way out as far as Julian and all everywhere.
Jeez.
People don't know this about me, but
No.
all these programs, yeah, that I worked
Wow.
on
That is
and brought
fantastic.
out to the public and to children. I was the first person to think of painting painting parties for children. We used to go to people's homes and bring the easels or do it outside. My company originally was called Art Tours, and my idea came at the Cove. That was
Really?
my first, when I before I even started. I was sitting at the Cove one
Yeah.
beautiful sunny day, as we all
Yeah.
do, and I was watching all these, and this was back in probably 94, 93, and I was watching all the tourist buses, the big
Yep.
buses, they pull
Come
up and
in,
everybody gets
show them the
out and
seals.
they walk around on the grass and then they walk back on the bus.
Right.
And I was sitting there on a bench and I was thinking they didn't really see anything.
Right.
They didn't really see the little seals doing their thing or
The
really notice the
birds or
plants
the,
or watch the
yeah.
way they're just in and out. So I created a program called Art Tours, which I had. In fact, I used to work with big companies like the Meeting Manager and PRA. I used to take their clients and corporate people out and the wives of people. So it would be a day out painting, creating a souvenir painting for you to
Oh,
take
that's cool.
with you, right? So Art Tours was like a picnic in the park where you would get to spend time in different key San Diego locations. This was my business model, the original
Great.
one.
Good.
And it was very successful. I even created a custom box that could hold a wet oil painting in the overhead locker of an airplane.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it was very successful. And then from there, I started my shop, and then it expanded from there. And I had art tours. I had junior art tours, which was for children. Lots of photographs. I've got thousands of
I know I was
photographs
looking on the
this.
website, and I just started looking through some of your paintings, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
painted thousands of paintings.
I was gonna say, it looks like there's 10,000
Yeah,
paintings. I
there's
mean,
1,000 paintings in collections worldwide right now of my art.
crazy.
But I'm saying I have photographs of back in 95 when I was taking these picnic and paint tours out, things that are more commonplace now that people are doing. But I was the first, and I have much documentation, much
So what's
ephemera.
your focus now?
Okay, so my focus now, funny enough, it's not really tetrachromacy. That just kind of is my little caboose that kind of comes along with me. It's sort of part of my identity now.
Got it. Yeah.
After having been in many documentaries worldwide and much press, it's an education. I mean, there's a lot of people who I'm in textbooks now,
Right.
university
You're the
textbooks, and
example.
I am the subject CA,
Got
right?
it.
So it's like, but now it's about, we want to leave a legacy,
Okay.
right? And this is why it's so important, Jim, for me to be on programs like yours, and why my agency is making sure that I'm getting out there, because I really think I have a story to tell. I have a
Yes.
story of my life,
Yes.
and how my life has been, and how
And how many
the
people you've influenced?
over 25,000 people I've taught how
All the
to oil
kids?
paint in San Diego.
I mean,
Yeah,
all the.
there are students of mine that are still taking classes with me that took classes when they were 7. There's one that's up in Berkeley studying
That is
fine
so
art.
cool.
I've changed
Oh,
lives,
that's awesome.
and that's important. Obviously, we
So the
want
whole
to do something.
legacy
Yeah, yeah.
is a huge push right now.
Huge push for me
Good.
at this
Great.
point, at this
Awesome.
trimester, if you like,
Thank
of my
you.
life.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Early trimester.
You're kind. And yeah, I think what I want is for people to appreciate the beauty of our world.
Good.
In the time that I've been on this planet, I've seen a lot of destruction, as we all have,
Mm-hmm.
of this paradise that we were given.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, it's like the San Diego Zoo said once. They said they started doing these closer encounters with animals. It was like a new push in the way that we explored the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because they said if somebody can see or touch or experience something, they're going to want to save it, right?
Right.
And I feel that by saying to people, you don't know how much beauty there is around you because there's so much more color and so much more beauty, and color matters. The world matters. Plants matter. Trees matter. The sky, how beautiful our blue sky is, whatever. It's like it matters. And we need to be, if I can be an example of showing that beauty and speaking about our own personal creativity and what we can do in a positive way and a positive impact, because there's all kinds of nuances there with that, in terms of having people realize that they have gifts and realize that they're on this gorgeous planet that they want to, even if it's, it's what Thoreau said, if you can just leave something a little bit better, a garden
Mm-hmm.
plot, a happy
Mm-hmm.
child. These are the things I think getting back to decent values and what really matters
That's
in our
awesome.
life.
That
And I
is
want to
great.
stand for that.
Good for you. What a
Yeah.
great spot to do it too, La Jolla, California. What
Yeah,
a
La
great
Jolla.
place to have a business,
Thank you.
and what a great place
Well, I've
to
come full
paint,
circle.
right?
Yeah. Oh, so beautiful. So Tuesday afternoon, I'll be standing on Coast Boulevard near the cave
Uh-huh.
store
Yeah.
area, painting La Jolla Shores in
Oh,
the
awesome. So
afternoon.
people can come by and watch
They
and
could see
witness
me
and see
there.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
but La Jolla is particularly beautiful. But San Diego is, our world is beautiful.
100%.
It's all
100%.
beautiful.
I agree. There's really not a bad part of San
I
Diego,
know.
but being able to paint and study the whole cove and the coastline and Torrey Pines and the caves and
Well, it's a conservatorship as
yes.
well, because the thing about a lot of my paintings, I have a number of paintings that are, I don't own them anymore, but I have all the images of them. San Diego's changed a lot.
Yeah.
I've painted places where there's a beautiful palm or a particular bit of landscape that's no
gone
longer
now, it's
there,
concrete or
but it's documented in the
right.
work. And so this is really,
Are people commissioning you for
I have
custom?
had people
So
commission
like, I
me.
want a beautiful picture of a whale at La Jolla Cove on
Yes,
my wall
or
at my house in La
yeah,
Jolla.
or sometimes it's some special moment. They've gone somewhere, or maybe it's the view from their home, or maybe it's their beloved pet that
Got
they
it.
don't have anymore. And so commissions are a thing that people want when it's something special,
Yeah.
their place they honeymooned, or something special to them, and that's lovely. And
So
of
you're
course,
still
I can do
painting
that.
quite a bit
I paint every week,
every
all the
week,
time,
all the time.
all the time.
You're a
Yeah.
paintaholic, we call that.
I'd rather be that than something else.
Ah, that's true.
But
That is a healthy
painting
hobby.
brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect of what I'm doing is, I currently have, I don't teach as many people. I used to teach over 100 people a week, literally. Now it's down to about 40,
And where do
30
you do that?
at my new
Studio.
space.
Got
Yes,
it.
my
And
new
where
gallery.
exactly is that?
It's on the corner of Fay and Klein.
Fay and Klein.
Yeah, right on the corner, right kitty corner to the cottage, which I think a lot of people know,
Yes.
and the Lot Theatre
Yep.
is right next door to me, and Conrad Prebys is
Yeah.
across the road.
So we're neighbors
Are
because I'm on
we?
the other side of.
When are you going to paint?
I can play guitar. I can write music. I
Then
can
you're
sing.
you're a Renaissance man.
I can sing while you paint.
That's fine.
Yeah,
We
I
could
can
do
play
that.
guitar. I
We
can write a
could do
song
that.
about your painting.
Honestly, people, the thing I want to say about that too is that a lot of people think that they can't paint or they can't do something
I would say I'm
creative.
one of those. Why
Yeah.
is and that's not true.
Okay, my favorite client is the one that comes in and says, I can't draw a stick figure. because they always say that.
Right.
And I look at them, I go, really? Because you drew stick figures when you were in kindergarten and
Yeah.
right through,
Yeah,
you
what
know, you're
happened?
look at what happened, you know. And the fact of the matter is, everybody, it's a skill to be learned.
Right.
It's like saying, I'll never be able to fix a car, or I'll never be able to bake a cake. Sure, that's not true. You have to learn from somebody. And then once you learn those skills, then you can do it. My clients who've never painted before complete a beautiful oil painting in just 4 weeks
And
under
that
my
must be quite a
tutelage.
rush,
They're so excited.
right?
Yeah, they're so happy.
Yeah, and I would think for their confidence, when it probably
Yeah.
opens it up that, hey, there are all these things that you could do.
Yeah.
Because I think most people are like, oh, Jim, I could never play a song or write a song like you just wrote. And
Yeah.
like, well, you can, you just got to train your muscle and you got to practice it.
Or
and
you got to
do it
just
1,000
decide
times.
to do it.
Right.
It's the just do it thing, as you know, Nike so profoundly said. You have to just put yourself there and make the commitment. Just like I want to work out, or I want to, you know, whatever
Yeah.
it is, I want to learn to paint. The thing about painting, and I have many doctors and medical type people that paint because they know how prescriptive it is for you. It lowers
For your mental health.
and your blood pressure and just physical health. It's really good for you. It lowers stress and anxiety, which I know a lot of us have at the moment.
Yes.
And it is, a wonderful pastime. It's something you can do till your last moment. One of my dear friends, Alfred Scott, who also lived in Bird Rock his whole life, died at 103 a few years ago and painted until his last day. In fact, his 100th birthday was at La Valencia. He was a wonderful man, and his daughter still takes classes with me.
Oh, really?
So it's beautiful,
That is so neat to see
I
this
know.
generational
I know.
pass through with all these
Yes.
children that have grown up as one of your students and now they're off
Yeah.
to college or
Yeah.
running a business and coming back and
Exactly
visiting
right.
you. That's
Or
gotta
wanting
be,
or believing that they can be a fine
well, that
artist.
should give you assurance that you have created a beautiful legacy.
Thank you. I really do
With
feel
what
that.
you've already done now is incredible and amazing and so many firsts for San Diego. Thank you
Thank
for
you
all your
for that.
contribution.
I do value San Diego, and in fact, anyone who purchases a painting from me, 5% of it goes to Rady Children's Hospital,
How great
which
is that?
I've been a miracle maker for in the past. And
Good.
if anyone wants to see a couple of my paintings, they're in the pediatric reception area
Of Rady's?
Rady's
How
children.
cool is that?
Yeah, it's
From
important to
Rady's.
give back because it comes full circle.
It sure does.
You know, and it
sure does.
makes you feel, like I said, my whole thing, my mother passed when I was 12, so I understand the tenure that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and how valuable time is. And if you can't get to the end of your life and look back and realize that you did something worthwhile, you tried harder, you made a contribution, what's the point?
Right. I'm glad you look at life like that
I
because
do.
it shows.
Thank you.
So good job.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll see you on the next episode of Discover La Jolla. And
We hope to
we hope to see you then. We hope that you come back.